everybody, Backyard Bullion here. Right, today we are going to be doing some stamping, but it's nothing kind of specific that we're doing in terms of a particular design or product. It's more of a little bit of a leisurely stroll through how I go about stamping some silver and some top tips for any of you budding silver enthusiasts out there who might be interested in starting your own hand-pulled silver and stamping it, because stamping it is, in my opinion anyway, one of the trickiest parts to the whole process. Pouring silver is, pouring silver is pouring silver. You can pour silver and you can make a bar. That's not that difficult. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's not that difficult to get silver into a mold. The trick comes in making it look really good afterwards with your stamping. And it's something that I struggled with right at the start when I got started in the world of silver pouring, and I thought I'd share some tips that I've learned along the way. So we've got here on the table a whole array of different equipment, and equipment's a really important place to start, I think, in terms of getting your stamping done correctly. Now, in terms of safety equipment first, I would highly recommend getting some safety goggles, because you never quite know, if you're stamping on some of these kind of generic little pre-made kits that you can buy. I mean, with no disrespect, they're basically made in China, and you never really quite know the quality of them. And the last thing you want is if you're stamping it and a piece of metal chips off and hits you in the eye. So safety goggles are a must. One thing that I've been told that I need to have by Mrs. Backyard Bullion are some ear defenders as well, because there's actually quite considerably loud noises coming from stamping silver, certainly on the bigger pieces. Maybe the little pieces with the small chops, not quite so bad, but big pieces make loud noise, so safety equipment. I've got some ear defenders here as well. Hammers are important. We'll talk about hammers in a bit. I've got two different hammers here, which I'll talk about in a moment. But I think the next most important thing that you can get your hands on is stamping blocks, or an anvil. As you can see, we've got an anvil out on the table here, but stamping blocks are really important. Now, the very first time I stamped any silver, I very naively did it naked on the table here. Well, I say naked on the table, I wasn't naked on the table, it was the bar that was naked on the table, so excuse that mental image that I've given you all. But I put it on the table, I stamped it, and there's a little dent on my table up near my computer where I do the majority of my videos from. I do it this end of the table when I need a little bit more space. So that was a lesson learned straight away. So I jumped immediately onto eBay and I had a look around and found these jeweler's blocks. So this is, I've shown this on the channel before, but for those of you who haven't seen them, it's basically just a hard steel piece of metal that fits in this very hard, dense rubber. And this is important for a number of reasons, and we'll talk about that as we go. But basically, this is a very versatile piece of kit for stamping pretty much anything, even from the big bars like this, which fit nicely on it, to small pieces as well. But for bigger pieces of silver that you need, or bigger stamps that you're going to be stamping, so I've got some pretty hefty, chunky size stamps that we've used throughout the years. We've got also the big flat face silver 4-in-1 here. You need to have something big and heavy underneath, like this anvil. And I bought, of all places, I bought this anvil as well off eBay, and it was only about £35, I think, something like that, for a giant anvil, which is like, it's like 18 kilos, so it's a heavy old piece, which is bonkers. I know, I don't know how they make money on something like that, but hey ho, I've got myself an anvil. So having a really sturdy, heavy base underneath you is important. Of course, the tabletop, the area that you're stamping on as well, is important. If it's on a flimsy table, that's not going to provide the kind of weight and support that you need to have behind the strikes. Now, my big old kitchen table here, as I said, I've already dented it doing some silver stuff. It's not necessarily something that I'm too worried about. It's a very nice table, but it's just an everyday table that we use, so it's fine if it gets a little bit dinged and dented. Eventually we're going to sand it down again and get it all nice and smooth looking, but it's a good big sturdy table is basically what I'm trying to say. It's got big old central supports rather than 4 table legs. It's not going anywhere, so this is a very, very good table, but it's not ideal. What you would really want is a nice big fixed workstation with big old supports underneath it that really doesn't even move. You see this, the table moves a little bit as you can wobble it around. Big worktop won't move, so you want to have that underneath your silver for sure. So let's crack on. Now, another big tip that I have here is to grab yourself just a big old chunk of silver, pour a big bar. This is one that's come out, looks pretty nice, but it's not perfect by any stretch. I can do way better than this, but get yourself a tester piece. So like this, have a big chunky piece of silver that you can essentially just mess around with and that you can stamp on. And it's not very difficult to test on these. You know, you just get your chop and your stamp, and there you go. So right there, you can see I wasn't paying much attention, and the stamp that's gone on there was only half of the stamp because you weren't paying attention. So that's the next big tip. Always pay as close attention as possible. Make sure you've got your stamp the right way around. A lot of these stamps will have either lettering or a little groove on one side, and that's where you would put your thumb and have it facing towards you so you can see it. It's there, and then nice firm and confident strikes, I think, is the best advice to you guys, so you get a nice clean strike on it. You don't need to have more than one strike. You saw there that I hit it 3 times, but if we do it again with just one strike, you can see that has performed very well indeed. So it's really easy to do even with just one strike. But of course this, and you know, the vast majority of these other types of stamps, so here we've got some just small numbers, they're really easy to do. You can see I'm not putting that much effort into them, and they're going onto the silver quite nicely. Obviously the harder and more vigorously that you stamp it, the deeper it goes, and you'll also get the impression of the kind of the base of the stamp as well. So you can see up here in this corner we've got kind of an indent where the number was, and of course then the sort of shape of the stamp as well. And that's kind of cool. You can use that certainly for you know, different effects of your stamping that you are wanting. But for me, it's, you know, getting the nice crisp sort of number without the indent is really important for a lot of the pieces I do. So that's just kind of all the basic stuff. You know, the little stamps, they're easy. Make sure, of course, they're in line, but you know, you can essentially just do them quite easy, quite quickly, as you can see. You don't need to have the silver heated up either. It's really easy to do just on the kitchen table, as I am demonstrating right here. So the next thing, though, are the slightly more complicated stamps. So those are all nice and easy, but I have a whole array of different stamps, and you can have shown some of them here already. We've got some of the custom-made stamps that we've had done from M. Shaw Engraving in Sheffield, which is a very, very good company that does pretty much all of my custom-made stamps. And I've recently commissioned a bunch of new ones. So last year we got these two made up, a 1 ounce troy and a 100-gram stamp for the silver foreign bars that we are making. And this year we are getting additional stamps made for tidying up those bars even more. So we've got 2 lots of 2019s. Now this was a bit of a, it was a little bit of a kind of investment to make, because of course we can only use these stamps in 2019, and they're not cheap to have made by any stretch. So to have these, you know, it's a bit of a cost, bit of an overhead, but I think it will make a real difference, because these are very, very fancy looking stamps. And as well as that, we've got some OZT stamps. We've got one which is horizontal and one which is vertical, so those will look pretty cool once they're done. And this is going to be the first time using them, so we're going to have a good old try on them. Now I'm going to move over to the Anvil, because these are bigger stamps and they require more force going down underneath them. So the little stamping block there, you know, it's very good, very sturdy, but it doesn't have a great deal of heft and weight behind it. So what we are going to be looking to do is upgrade ourselves from that to this. And we have, let's do the big 2019 first. So it is, again, it's all about confidence. Of course, if you were lining this up to do it on this particular piece, make sure it's all lined up. But as you can see, it's still just as easy. However, there you can see that we've missed some of the stamping. So you can see it's not quite all gone in, which is fine, because you can replace it into the groove that it's made. And then I angle, you can see that I'm angling it around. Now I'm using multiple little taps here. You can of course just do a big tap like that, and that will pretty much imprint everything that you're looking for. So you can see there we've got the 2019 coming out well, and that looks pretty cool. Let's try the little 2019 now. So we've got that one, let's put that above there. Now this one should be a little bit easier. Again, it's all about like the surface area, how much force you need to get it into the actual silver itself. So that one's gone in really a lot easier and a lot deeper, because it's obviously not as thick. The lettering and the numbers are not as thick. So we've got then OZT. These are very cool. I'm enjoying using these stamps actually. Lovely, looks good, and I think these will really tidy up a lot of the bars. This is the vertical one. Oh, that's gone in deep, so you don't need quite so much force on that, so let's do another one. Very good. And you see, of course, testing out and practicing these is really important. It's invaluable, in fact. If I've poured a really nice piece and I mess it up because I've put on you know, a stamp and it's not gone so well, that would annoy me. And so there's an important piece of information for you, piece of advice. Always concentrate, because I just missed the chop and I hit my finger. I didn't hit it hard, so don't worry, I'm okay, but pay close attention to what you're doing because it can be dangerous. So then we have a big final piece of advice. If you are getting custom made stamps made and you're making a design like this Silver Forum logo, which has got a flat surface, you're going to need an awful lot of force to get this down into the silver. Now I'm going to put one in this corner in a moment, but up here is where we're going to just do the example. Now this is a very difficult stamp to make, and if we're going to use the same hammer that we've been using and we just stamp on it, let's stamp on it multiple times like that, you can see that it's not done very well, and it's jumped around quite a lot, and it's created multiple impressions, and it just looks pretty poor. So what we have done, or what I have learned to do, and this is all self-taught, remember, so I'm no expert, but this works for me. What I've learned to do is using a big old chunky sledgehammer like this, very heavy hammer. The weight of the hammer makes a difference. Force the chop down onto the silver really hard. One big confident strike, so there's going to be a really loud noise here. In fact, this is the one where I really do need the ear defenders, so I'm just going to pop those on. And here we go. So I apologise if I'm now shouting, because it's very difficult for me to hear myself talking. I should have thought about that. But anyway, one big confident strike. And hopefully that has given, so that's given a nice big clean impression. It's not as deep as we might want. So now we can replace that mark or that stamp on there, and we can go again. Just one at a time though. And you see it's getting a bit deeper. Could have a little bit more indentation down at the bottom, so let's just lean the stamp forward this way a little bit. One more big swift hit, and there we go. Now you can see the difference there between the two stamps. Really, really different looking. So yeah, very, very interesting, the different techniques that one can use. So that is basically it. Let's put my little leaf logo on here as well, because we haven't got that on there. And that is my top tips for stamping silver. Kind of looks like quite a cool bar actually now we've done all of that on there, and you know, it's really beneficial I think to anybody who's learning to stamp to just get a scrap piece like this to have a go, especially if you're doing custom made stamping like names and things and you don't quite know how things might turn out and look when you're stamping it across you know, the bar. To have a test piece of silver out there is just so invaluable, because you can, you know, you can plan where the letters are going to go, what they're going to look like, and how they're going to be. It's really very easy to do, and it's just a massive time saver, because the last thing that you want is to have a piece which you've put a lot of time and energy and effort into making, and then you suddenly have to re-pour it because you've messed it up. It's disheartening. It's horrible. I've done it so many times before, and I just despair every time I mess up a stamp. It's just very, very annoying. So yeah, that's my pieces of advice for all of you guys. If you enjoyed that video or this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button on it and share it around on your social media. I hope next week to be able to bring you some pouring, silver pouring, the first of 2019. So make sure if you want to see that video, you hit the subscribe button if you've not already done so. And if you are a subscriber and you want to get a notification when those videos go live, make sure you hit the alarm bell. Otherwise, I hope you all have a fantastic week ahead. Thank you one and all for watching. And as always, please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.